Hello everybody, it's getting to be springtime. Time to be thinking about getting back out on the water. And for those of you that follow my channel have probably seen some of the mods that I've done to my ocean kayak, Prowler big game. This is an older kayak. Basically I've got a leak in one of the scuppers here that's under the seat. And it's allowing about a cup to a cup and a half of water for about every 2 hours that I'm on the water to leak inside the hull. So I want to repair those and get access to those. But at the same time, there's no hull access. There's no way to get inside there to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a hatch in this area. I did some research. There used to be a kit that you could buy through Johnson Outdoors that was the hatch that fit in the total square in front of the seat here. I did contact them, and they sent me to another company that has a triple lock hatch system that basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to install in here. And it looks like the footprint is about the same size as this, the inside of this right here, so it's going to sit. But I do want to make sure that I get it placed so that where I place my aftermarket seat that I created, that I can still open the lid. So basically the way that this is going to sit, if I put this basically where I have this sit, I want to make sure that when I open this, when I open the lid, that it will go open and closed without hitting the seat. And so that's what I want to do. So I might not do a lot of talking on this. I want this to be an instructional thing. I may voice over this too. I'm not sure portions of it, but I did want to demonstrate this because there's not a lot of videos on YouTube for putting a hatch in one of these kayaks. So that's kind of the plan for today. I'll kind of show you the template that I created and how this works. So we'll get started. One of the things, I'm going to put the link to the hatch that I purchased in the comments below so that you know where to get it and the whole thing. But it does not come with any hardware. So you're going to have to buy your own stainless steel hardware for this, whether that's if you want to do a bolt through with nuts and washers, that's what I'm going to do, or if you want to do self-tapping, I would assume you could do that as well. So you have to create your own template. There are no directions. It comes the hatch only. You have to get your own hardware. So basically what I've figured out with this, I've come up with this template, and also this is about the size of the hole that's going to get placed in the hull, so you can kind of get an idea. I basically cut this out. This is the screw holes and everything, the size of the template that's going to go for this specific unit. What I've realized is by a little bit of testing where I want my seat to sit, as long as I move this template up and use this as my front guide edge, the front end of this inside lip, that's going to be about where I want the hatch to sit so that it will open, but it also will not come in contact with the seat. This will also, another benefit of having this hatch in this kayak is it gives me access, once I get the inside waterproofed, I could put a waterproof bag or a cooler or something like that down inside here, store some extra tackle, that sort of thing down inside the hatch out of the way, and kind of relieve some of the stuff I've got floating around up top while I'm fishing. Store some extra plastic baits, stuff like that, put them down in the hull. And the nice thing about this kayak is it is open the entire way through. If you open the front hatch and look down through, there's a few posts where the scupper holes are, but the entire inside of the kayak is open. I've actually put my rods inside of the kayak for transport to further destinations, so I don't have rods and stuff inside the car. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on tracing this out, and then we'll get that done. Get it cut out and show you how to do the install. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and set this template in here, and I've done quite a bit of stuff off camera here as far as making sure this is the way that I want it to sit before I cut the hole, because in something like this you can only cut the hole one time. Can't really redo it, so I'm going to go ahead and trace around this. And so that's basically going to be the footprint of the, let me see here, let's do this, because I want to make sure, I just cut on the inside of this to start. So I'm going to get my drill hooked up and my saw hooked up, and we're going to go for it. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to drill a pilot hole in here to get my saw blade started. So let's get this thing cut out here. Yeah, the other thing I didn't plan for is all these ridges and everything cutting into my saw, so I can't keep my saw going straight. So I might not be able to do this all in one chunk like I planned to, but that's okay. Okay, so that gives you an idea about how thick that is. And I'll hold on to this, because that plastic is good for any other patches, anything else that you got to do on this, you could do that. So we'll hold on to that. Got a little bit of trimming here to do. Test fit here. So I think that is actually going to work well. That hole's going to be fine. It's a little bit tight, but I'd rather have it a little bit tight than too loose. All right, so get that to sit down in there. And then we're going to go to work on putting our screws in there. I'm going to get you a little better angle so you can see it from this side instead, because I got to open the lid this way. I'm not sure you can see it well enough. For those of you wondering the size of the holes in the hatch itself are 7/32, which transfers into a 3/16 inch stainless. I use stainless. I got the 1 inch. I probably could have gotten away with 3/4 or half. I've got kind of big fingers. I want to thread these and tighten them down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a couple of these in. So you're going to need a 3/8" wrench and a screwdriver to put these in. I'm actually going to use the drill for that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go opposite sides. I'm going to do 2 opposite ones, put them in, and then I'm going to drill the rest of the holes, and then I'll show you how I'm going to put the gasket around the inside, or the silicone, whatever. So here we go. One of the things you want to do when you're using this silicone is you want to make sure that the area that you're working on is clean. So I'm going to use some all-purpose cleaner here first, and then I'm going to go over the same area with rubbing alcohol just to make sure that I get good adherence on that. It's kind of amazing how the inside of the kayak, how brand new the plastic is, even on the underside of that thing I clicked out. I keep this thing inside, I store it inside so I don't have the breakdown of the plastic. But it's amazing how the inside is just still looks brand new in there. Of course it would, because it gets no wear and tear, but just the contrast, I guess. So I'm going to go around here with rubbing alcohol. And then I'll go ahead and put the silicone around the bottom side while that flashes off. You may notice the lighting's changed a little bit. The sun started going under clouds here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, do I need to puncture that? No. So I'm going to run a bead of this caulk around the inside ridge of the screws, just simply because anything that squirts over, I don't want to have to clean up. But I want a pretty good continuous bead going around there, so when I put this in, any water that does get into the lip of this doesn't go into the kayak. It gets kind of routed out and around. And of course, now that I've got the marine sealant on there, it doesn't want to fit down in the hole. I see why, because I had to turn the lock in order to get it in there. I was trying to put it in with both of the locks activated on the side here. So you gotta, when you're putting it down in the hole, you've got to unlock it. And now all that's left is putting the screws in. Okay, here's something I figured out. I was using my drill to tighten these down. And using the drill will torque the lid, and you won't be able to open and close it. It'll pull one way or the other if you tighten these down too tight. So you want to just use enough pressure to get the screws tight, and that's it. You don't have to crank down on them too much. You're going to have that sealant in there that's going to help with the water tightness. So basically, I put it in there the first time and couldn't get the lid latch because I was just using too much force with my drill tightening those down. So you do not need to tighten this down. Just tight enough to make the lock washer work. Let the lock washer do the work. And that will allow you, if you're not able to open and close the lid easily, you're tightening the screws down too tight. I just learned that. So, little tip there for you while you're doing this. Save yourself some headache. I pulled this back out of there thinking there was something going on with the hole, and got some of this adhesive I'm going to have to clean up with some mineral spirits here when I'm done. Because now I got it all over my hands and all over the screws that I took out. And it's really kind of a mess. So after readjusting the amount of torque I put on the screws, it's still, when you close it, the front edge comes in contact, but it opens and closes with ease, and there's no, so if you're inserting this and it feels like when you go to close it, this is all the further it goes and you can't get it to go any further, you've over tightened your hardware. You got to loosen that hardware up, which is another reason why I'm glad I used the 1-inch stainless steel screws and bolts instead of self-tapping, because it's so easy to over tap them, and then once you over tighten in plastic with self-tapping, the hole's too big, and then you got to do something different. So I would use bolts and nuts, and there's the finished product, and I'll show you a little bit more here once I get this put back together the way that I want it, cleaned up a little bit. So here is the finished surface. Triple Latch Hatch installed. So now full access down into the hole, and this opens and closes easily. And the thing that I really like about this, I did seal down below here underneath, as you saw. But this lip, this is a rubber gasket, and there's a lip that runs all the way around there, and the screw holes are covered when you close the lid, which is the other nice thing for water resistance. I don't know that you would call this waterproof, but I would say anything rain-wise coming down, you might get a little bit, but not as much as if you didn't seal these down here, and then having this lip here prevents any water, if you are in rougher waters, have water coming over the top and washing through to the scupper holes, that it's not gonna come up and go underneath the lid because you've got that lip under there. So let's get the seat installed so you can see how that's gonna look. As I showed in my last video, this seat bracket I had built so I could put a stadium seat on top, raise myself up a little bit, and have some storage underneath the seat as well. Where I place this, and basically this is secured with some, I believe they're 175 pound rated zip ties that I zip tie to the existing pad eyes with. But you'll notice where I've got this seat sitting, where I like it, where it's comfortable and good placement. I can now access the center hatch without hitting the underside of my seat. So I'm kind of excited about this to see what the capabilities are. If I can get access to my hull as I'm underway, and not have to, before I'd have to, if I wanted to store stuff in the hull, I'd have to use the forward hatch and then go to the bank, or shallow water where I could get out, access the hatch, get the stuff out that I wanted, and then get back in. Now I have a placement where I can just go ahead right between my feet here, right between my knees, get inside the hatch, put stuff in. It's semi-secure. The other thing that I wanted to check on, and this is something that I was curious about, is by putting a hatch in the center, does it weaken the center platform of the kayak? And I asked the folks at Johnson Outdoors that own Ocean Kayak if that's the case, and they said no, it will not. And the other thing you may or may not have noticed under here, I'll just kind of bring this over here so you can see it. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. Underneath there, it's all a honeycomb, pretty sturdy lid. So I'm kind of excited to see what the options are this season for me with that access. I know food-wise, cooler-wise, that sort of thing gives me space to put stuff underneath out of the sunlight where I can store it. Maybe a dry bag, something like that with a first aid kit, sunscreen, just different stuff like that. So we'll see what we use it for, but I think that's going to be a good addition. It also gives me access to my next project, which is patching that leak in the scupper hole. And I'm going to do that with duck seal. I've done some research on duck seal, and it's supposed to be really good for keeping water from seeping inside, from groundwater, that sort of thing, and it's waterproof. So I'm going to go ahead and try that, put some duck seal around that scupper tube inside where there's a small crack, and see if that alleviates my water problem. So we'll take a look at that. So there it is. That's going to be the finale on this, but I will put some links in the description down below so you know where to get this, the hardware that I used, and that sort of thing. So you've got that, and if you got any questions, obviously you can post those as well. So hope this finds you well. Have a great season.